Chapter 25. Judaism. Judaism began in the beginning, and in the beginning God created. These are the first words of the Jewish Bible named Tanakh, from T, N and K, the first letters of the Hebrew words for Torah, guidance and instruction, Nebi'im, prophets, and Ketubim, writings. There are at least 5 different stories of creation in Tanakh, but from Genesis, or Bereshith in Hebrew, Jews see a purpose and providence in the work of God in creating the world and humans within it. In the beginning God saw that all was very good. The book of Genesis also shows how the original peace and harmony became disrupted and destroyed. The story is told of how conflict arose between humans and God, husband and wife, parents and children, town dwellers and country dwellers, finally culminating in God so regretting his creation that he decided to end it. Only Noah found favor with God, who saved him and made a covenant or promise with him, thereby beginning the repair process. Tanakh is the story of God's work of repair in successive covenants, involving the call of particular individuals and eventually of an entire people, to specific roles in that process. 5 are of major importance: Abraham, who obeyed God's command to arise and go to a promised land and thus became the father of the chosen people, the people of Israel as the people of God's purpose. Although some Jews now reject this name as elitist, the patriarchs Isaac and Jacob was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Moses, through him the covenant on Mount Sinai was made, which introduced the law as the marker of the covenant agreement. And David, when David captured Jerusalem's city of Zion, he introduced kingship as a way of mediating God's purpose to his people. The king is anointed, so is known as HaMashiach, the Anointed One, in English the Messiah. When the kings failed the people, the messianic hope went to a future king who would come to inaugurate God's kingdom on earth. David's son Solomon built the first temple as the center of worship, devotion and pilgrimage. The second temple was built in the 5th century BCE after the exile of the Jews in Babylon. The Romans destroyed the temple in 70 CE. During the biblical period there was a conflict between God as he revealed himself and the inclination of the people to follow other gods. Prophets spoke powerfully for God, who made himself known as YHWH. Jews do not attempt to pronounce this name as it is too holy, and they say instead Hashem, the name, but it is conventionally written as Yahweh. Tanakh and Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, show and tell Israel what it means to be holy. Torah is often translated as law, but is really guidance that includes law. There are 613 commands, of which 248 are positive and 365 are negative. In keeping these, Jews are saying yes to God's purpose of using Israel to begin his work of repair. Jews do not have to find a reason for the laws. The laws are an enacted language of love, a visible way of accepting that God has chosen Israel to be a healed community, demonstrating in advance what will one day be the case for everybody. When the knowledge of God shall cover the earth as the waters cover the sea, the Jewish people believed themselves to be descended from a tribe that lived in Canaan, which is understood to be an area in the eastern Mediterranean encompassing most of modern Israel, Jordan and Syria. The Jews believe that they are descended from Abraham, a wandering Aramean, who became the father of a great nation. God made a covenant with him and promised him a land flowing with milk and honey. Jews believe that God gave them to Moses, the prophet that led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt in the 14th century BCE. Of the 613 laws, the 10 Commandments, Exodus 20, are said to have been inscribed by God onto stone tablets, holds a central place. The tablets, kept in the Ark of the Covenant, built in the time of Moses, were housed in the temple in Jerusalem. In Hebrew, Messiah means the anointed. Kings were anointed as a sign of their divine election. It was believed that God had chosen King David as his descendants, but when there ceased to be kings in Israel because the land was dominated by foreign powers, hope persisted that God would send another king like David to right all wrongs and put an end to earthly wars. The king would make a covenant with the righteous and kill the wicked, and his arrival would end history and establish God's kingdom on earth. For many centuries, the Jewish have remained faithful to this vision, and the belief in the coming of the Messiah is enshrined in their liturgy or worship. The Kabbalah is the name given to Jewish mystical knowledge, and within the Talmud, the law book of the 6th century CE, there are hints of mystical speculation. These doctrines were kept secret as it was believed that such powerful knowledge should be restricted. The most famous mystical work was the Zohar, Divine Splendor. It purports to be a treasury of ancient knowledge and explains God's relationship with the world in terms of Sephirot, the attributes of God from which he created the universe, known as emanations.